Let's bring in Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen. Now, he sits on the House Judiciary Committee, which is, of course, going to be the next instrument of a potential impeachment. This is where it really becomes a serious confrontation. Congressman, we'll talk about the process in a second. Let's start with the headline. What does it mean to you that the president, not just the White House, was well aware of the whistleblower complaint to some degree of detail just weeks before they released the aid?
It's obviously why he did it. If the whistleblower didn't file his report, the president of Ukraine would have gone on television on your network at Trump's request and announced the investigation of the Bidens so he would get the military aid. He was scheduled to do it because he didn't know different. Trump had it. He loved him, according to Sondland, would do anything for him. But Trump found out about the whistleblower, the fact that it was going to become public. He knew what he did was wrong, and so he released the aid. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
There are other pieces. Mark Sandy, senior official at OMB, hears about the hold on the aid. He says, this doesn't seem right. He goes to the political appointee on top of him, says, I think this might be illegal. We should look at it. He winds up resigning over the situation. Significance?
Well, there were people that were on the inside who heard what was going on and knew that it was not about corruption in Ukraine or corruption in any other country that you give foreign aid to, like Afghanistan and Iraq, which are much more corrupt and get much more aid. It was about political. It was about using the powers of the presidency and the funds authorized by Congress to benefit yourself with political dirt on your opponent. That is a danger to national security. It's abuse of power. They knew it, and it was recognized.
The fact
that people saw it there.
Bad fact that I want to hear argued in front of your committee, Congressman, if I get your take on this, is this president had given aid to Ukraine in 2 budgetary cycles before now. He never raised the issue of Biden in those, to our knowledge. The only thing that changed ostensibly is that the former VP decided to run for office.
Well, the fact is, in previous times that aid was given, there was no connection at all to quote-unquote corruption. And Ukraine was a very corrupt country, but they didn't have a president who'd been elected who was a corruption fighter. They had a president who was corrupt, and yet that wasn't even questioned. All of a sudden, it became important about corruption. They don't care about corruption. The fact is, they wrote the book.
The idea of corrupt intent, the constructive analogy for you guys in terms of what the wrong was, seems to be this was basically a bribe, or at least an attempted bribe, even though a bribe in and of itself can only be a solicitation. But that's lawyer talk. You're going to have to make the proof to the American people against counsel now at the Judiciary Committee level that this was a scam all along to lever Ukraine. One of the major defenses will be, but he believed it, Congressman. He believed Ukraine was involved in the 2016 interference, and he believed that the Bidens were up to no good. So he had a good faith interest in doing it. Therefore, he could not form corrupt intent.
I don't think that can be seen. You have to have a willing suspension of disbelief. Not even Aristotle would buy that argument, that he really all of a sudden found that to be true and that Ukraine was involved. Comes right out of Moscow. And not that the president hasn't agreed with Moscow on other things. When he was in Helsinki, he was saying, I don't see, Putin says he didn't interfere with our elections. I don't see why he would, and basically agreed with Putin. Trump is a man of convenience, his shifting morality and shifting ethics. But it's clear from anybody looking with an objective eye that he wanted dirt on the Bidens to help himself politically and was fearful of the Biden, said Joe Biden being his opponent.
Secondary defense is going to be, I didn't know what Rudy was doing. You know, I trust Rudy, so he went out there, but I didn't know what he was doing. Now, we've heard in the past that Rudy has said, I was doing this for my client. My client was aware. Some of it he knew before, some of it after, but I was working as his attorney. Is there any credence to that theory? Does it give any clearance to the president if this was about what Rudy did, not what the president knew about what he did?
I think there's information that's come out that Pompeo had talked to Rudy, and
yes.
Unfortunately, Pompeo won't testify, nor has Giuliani to our committee, but that Pompeo and Giuliani had talked, Giuliani and Sondland had talked. Ambassador Sondland was a key. I wouldn't put him to the level of John Dean, but he had Giuliani and Pompeo and Mulvaney and the whole cast of characters as totally in the loop and plotting it. And there's no question that's what was going on. And then all of a sudden, Mulvaney tries to find a way to say, how can we rationalize this when they found out that, the gig was up?
If you could get one guy, who would be the one guy that you want to come in? And may I make a suggestion of Bolton, given what he tweeted today? What does he mean by saying that the policy aims were being, subverted from within?
Well, Bolton encouraged people that were working underneath him, and I think it was Fiona Hill, and there was another person to go testify and to take action, which they did, and they did testify. But Bolton won't do it because Bolton wants to sell his book. You don't know why Bolton's doing these things. I suspect he's selling his book. One of the guests on the previous show was saying how Bolton's such a strong Republican, and he is, and that's his whole social ties. He's not going to want to cut those, just like McGahn's probably not going to want to cut them either. He's tied into the Federalist Society and the Republican game. That's where their bread is buttered, and that's what's going to make a difference in them. They're not caring about America. They care about their future and their contacts and their abilities to sell what they've learned from government, either in a book deal or in clients at Jones Day.
Now, something that we've been arguing a lot with defenders of the president is going to be made manifest when the proceedings start in your committee. This has been the investigatory phase up until now. It was done with Clinton by Ken Starr. It was done under Nixon by a couple of different people running a grand jury. You guys did it yourselves here. They kept saying this is so unfair. The president doesn't have any representation. You never get representation in the investigative phase. And to the extent that they weren't supposed to have any, they had half the room in the Intel Committee was fighting for them tooth and nail. They did nothing but the Republicans except try to find clearance for the president. But now in Judiciary Committee, that changes. Counsel can be there. They can question witnesses. What will that dynamic look like?
Resolution 660 that set out the rules gives the Republican president more rights in the Judiciary Committee than either Nixon was given or Clinton was given.
Why?
There are more defense rights because we're bending over backwards. The Democrats do that. Speaker Pelosi wanted to do that and make it clear that we're giving due process and try to minimize the argument. But no matter what we'd have done, they'd have said it wasn't enough. I'd like to see Donald Trump appear. Donald Trump likes to talk to the American people. He claims there's nothing to it. Today he called it BS in his rally. He likes to use, vulgar terms, and they love it. I'd like to have him come to Congress, sit down in a chair, and answer questions. That's what he should do if he's truly innocent, if he really didn't have malevolent intent, and if he really thought it was simply corruption and truly believed that the Ukrainians were the people that were involved in getting up dirt in the 2016 election. Come and tell the American people. If you don't, you're a coward, Donald Trump.
Congressman Steve Cohen, heavy words just before Thanksgiving. Thank you very much, and the best to you and the family.
Thank you, Chris. Happy Thanksgiving to you.